Thanks for downloading the RealAg Radio podcast. If you enjoyed this program, 1, tell your friends, and 2, we got another show that you'll be interested in. It's called RealAg on the Weekends. It goes out every Saturday. It's broadcast across Saskatchewan on RealAg Radio on 650 CKOM and 980 CGME, as well as we podcast it as well. It's really a look at the week that was in Canadian agriculture. Make sure you check it out. It's called RealAg on the Weekend. Enjoy today's episode of RealAg Radio.
This episode of RealAg Radio is brought to you by high-performing new carbine insecticide from FMC. Carbine insecticide delivers fast, selective, and extended control of aphids in alfalfa and pulses, leaving beneficials like lady beetles to help in the fight. Ask your retailer today.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Hello and welcome to RealAg Radio here on this Thursday, April 27th. I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith, and I am super excited for today's show. That's right, it's Thursday. What does that mean? The Farmer Rapid Fire. So today we're going to talk to 4 farmers. We're going to start in Nova Scotia. Super fun. Super excited about this. Then we're going to head to Ontario to talk to good friend and YouTube sensation, Sandi. Then we're going to jump to Saskatchewan. Then we're going to head to Alberta. So that's what we're doing. So if you're new to RealAg Radio, every Thursday, we talk to between 3 to 5 different farmers across Canada, sometimes into the U.S., and we ask them what's happening on their farm that week. We also ask them the question of the week. Changes every week. Sometimes we forget. Most of the time, though, it always leads to some really fantastic answers. So this week, I'm going to ask the farmers a specific question, and I'd love to pose it to you as well. So if you head to RealAgriculture.com a little later this week, you're going to see this particular poll on the website as well as its own post. But here's the question, and you can answer it by our feedback line, 1-855-776-6147, or you can just zip us a DM over any of our social media platforms. That's at Real Agriculture. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, we're there. Send us a message. All right. Here's the question. If money were no object, what piece of equipment would be next on your farm? But first, you have to answer the first part, which is, what is likely to be the next piece of equipment you kind of have to buy for your farm? See what we're doing there? Wants and needs, needs and wants. Not always the same thing, don't always add up. So I'll share on my farm. What we will probably end up buying next is either a small chore tractor or an ATV or 2. And that's because we graze solar sites and we need to move the solar energizer, the little cart that holds water, dog food, all of those sorts of good things. And it moves with the sheep as we move them, as we manage graze all those solar sites. So is that super fun? You know what? For some people, sure. For me, not so much. If money were no object, what would I buy? Oh, goodness. Probably an entire new line of haying equipment. I figure maybe if you've got livestock, haying equipment is the bane of my existence. I just want it to work. It is so expensive to have a full line, but goodness, when you need to make good hay, it is absolutely priceless. So there you go. That's what I would do. Okay. I think we're ready to get on with the show. So thanks for joining me here on this Farmer Rapid Fire. We're going to take a quick break, and I will be back right after this.
Looking to launch a successful career in agri-sales or take yours to the next level? Lakeland College's Agri-Sales and Customer Relations Certificate takes you beyond the classroom to learn from the experts. This apprenticeship-style program will teach you everything you need to know to thrive in a sales career. The real world doesn't wait. Register for agri-sales and customer relations today at lakelandcollege.ca.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and what an opportunity! Oh my gosh! You think you can't grow better wheat? You are absolutely wrong. We're going to show you how to strive for those record wheat yields that they get in the UK and in New Zealand. You can grow 150 bushel wheat. I'll show you how.
Catch Wheat Pete's Word every Wednesday on RealAgriculture.com or download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify.
How's your seed quality? What should you treat with? What about herbicide carryover and environmental concerns? Spring is here, and you've got a lot of things to think about in regards to your pulse crop. The Pulse School on Real Agriculture has information and advice for all these questions and more to help you navigate this season. Brought to you by BASF. Pulse School episodes are available at pulseschool.com, realagriculture.com, or as a podcast on your favorite streaming service. Download the latest episode today.
Welcome back to Real Ag Radio on this Thursday. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire. I am your host, Lyndsey Smith, and this segment is brought to you by Granubor from US Borax. Ask for it by name. Joining me now, we're going to start in New Brunswick this week with John-Wiebe Dykstra. How are you?
Just lovely. How are you doing, Lyndsey?
I'm doing all right. Okay, so New Brunswick, we don't get out that way very often. So tell me, what does the weather look like? What do the fields look like where you are?
Right at the moment, everything's drying up really good. For some reason, it went from winter to summer and just kind of skipped spring. So things are going pretty good right at the moment. We're still a little wet right at the moment. We have a couple of our neighbors that are really getting out there with manure at the moment. But for the most part, things are just starting to green up now.
Yeah, I'd feel like here in Ontario anyway, we also sort of skipped spring, went straight to summer, but now we're back to like early spring. So it's slowing us down.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more or less the same here pretty well.
Okay. All right. Now you do run a dairy. Tell us about your dairy.
Yep. I'm currently milking about 92 Holsteins. I work in conjunction with my father, my mother, and two of my brothers. They each have, my other two brothers each have locations about 8 kilometers and 4 kilometers from me. So we all kind of share equipment and work together in the fields and go home and milk our own cows.
Well, okay, so that's very smart, if I may say, to share equipment, because equipment is not cheap. So do you share all equipment or just certain pieces of equipment?
Basically all field equipment we share. We have each our own individual like TMR mixers and loader tractors and skid steers and stuff, but no, all the big gear is all shared. Smart, I don't know. In general, I agree, but working with family, that's not always the case.
Yeah, it is a challenge. What is the biggest sticking point? And I'm going to guess, so tell me I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess it's whose field gets done first.
That can usually be a problem. It has been dealt with in the past because we had power silos at one location and bunkers at one another. So conditions kind of dictated where things were going to go first. That is slowly being addressed so that bunkers will be everywhere. And so now the real fist fighting will be coming out shortly.
Please don't actually resort to fist fights. There has to be some easier way to figure it out.
Rock, paper, scissors usually goes first.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. I'm glad there is a scale here. There's an escalation from.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Although 3 brothers, I'm going to guess there's been no shortage of wrestling matches and fistfights. So there you go. Maybe that's the way you'll figure it out. Yeah, exactly. All right. Exactly. So lots of dairy out that way. One of the questions we are asking this week, seeing as we're on the equipment topic, we're going to jump right into the question of the week, and then we'll get more on what else is happening. But the question this week is, what is the next piece of equipment you want to buy? And what is the next piece of equipment you wish you could buy?
Well, I just last week picked up a new piece of equipment, and I would like to thank Mary Claude Bibeau and Justin Trudeau for paying for a manure spreader for me. Off-calf funding was lovely for that.
Look at that.
So I've installed manure spreader.
Okay, so that fits in under nutrient management, I'm guessing? Is that like end management?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay.
One of the newer style vertical beater manure spreaders.
Right. Okay. So doing a better job spreading manure. So off-cap funding, for those who don't know, so this is it is federal money through Ag Canada. It's administered through, I think there's 12 different organizations depending on your province. It was in 3 different. So it had rotational, grazing, cover crops, and nitrogen management. So you were under the nitrogen management pillar, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
And how did you find the application process and those sorts of things? Sometimes it's a pain, but
it wasn't too bad. I mean, we just got a bunch of the quotes together, and I had a great time with my soil and crop rep, who's the New Brunswick Soil and Crop, is doing a wonderful job administrating this work, this particular program. And a shout out to my rep, Zosha Fraser. She did an excellent job and is working extremely hard to facilitate as many of us crazy farmers who are trying to do this. And we were able to qualify for manure spreader, and we're hoping to qualify through one of the other farms as well if we can get our application all together and the pot of money does not completely run out.
Yep, good for you. There are rules about how much each farm can get under each pillar, all that sort of stuff. So check it out if you want to. But glad to hear you've got support. That is really important, I think, for accessing some of this stuff. Yeah. Knowing sort of what's actually covered and all those sorts of good things. So,
well, what's covered and the size of your farm will dictate how much is covered and what scale you're at. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Okay, so dairy focused, of course. So what goes into the fields this spring? What else do you have in rotation?
So we're doing an alfalfa clover mix for grass with some meadow and tall fescue. Then in terms of corn, we're putting in about 350 acres of corn tillage and snapping, we'll say 120 acres of that, depending on how well the yield is for the corn. So if we have a great year, then we'll snap more in terms of putting a combine head on our harvester and putting it through as earlage or cob meal or snappage, whichever term you utilize. And then if it is a poor corn year, then we'll chop it off for silage just to try to make sure we have enough forages for the winter.
I'll be honest, my prairie...
we also do grow another...
Sorry, go ahead.
80 acres of... Sorry, another 80 acres of barley, another 50 acres of oats, now that I think about it.
So are the oats for grain, or do you take the oats for forage?
Both. Again, that's kind of... We're kind of slowly moving into it as a nurse crop for any of the underseeding going on. Mm-hmm. But it's also depending on the grass year. The last 2 years, we've had bumper crops of grass, whereas 3 years ago, we were buying grass. We were completely graded out.
Yeah.
So we're kind of looking at it from the perspective, if we don't need it, then we'll put it to grain. And if we do need it for silage, then we'll green chop it all.
Mm-hmm. It's good risk management. I was going to say that. Yeah, exactly. The snaplage, earlage, cob meal. I struggle. My prairie shows a little bit. I struggle with, they're all the same. Are they the same? What are they even? How is it different? But it's probably one of my favorite terms in the silage and corn world. Snaplage is probably my favorite one.
And that's why I say all of them, because depending on who's listening.
Yeah, that's different. Well, and I have an issue, and I often have to ask for clarification. Like, what on earth do you mean by that? And what does that look like? And how is it different? Yeah, so good for you for covering all of the terms, so everyone knows what you're talking about. Yeah.
Try to be politically correct.
There you go. Now, okay, so you did say the oats often or had been a nurse crop. Do you, when you're establishing or reestablishing a hayfield, do you always use a nurse crop, or do you ever go straight, just the forages in there and away you go?
We've done it both ways, and we do it both ways. It kind of depends on what we're trying to accomplish in the field. Usually, if we're going to try to deal with any winter kill, we'll try to go with grain to nurse the whatever forage is going in. But we've also cut grain in the fall, and then a quote-unquote cover crop right behind it with the alfalfa clover fescues.
Which is your favorite, or which do you have more success with, fall establishment or spring establishment?
Usually spring in general, but as long as you're early enough in the fall, i.e. before September, it's not too bad. But once you get past September, you're getting kind of...
Yeah, it's a little tight.
You're gambling.
Yeah, you have to hope and pray you get that real nice open fall and get lots of growth on there.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd be the same. All right. Okay. And so looking ahead 1 week as we wrap up here, what do you hope? Are you going to be in the fields next week, do you think? Or will that all depend on just how much heat you get?
Yeah, we're getting geared up right now. Like any of the fields along the tree lines and stuff, there's still water coming into the woods and stuff. But then the wet holes are still wet. But other than that, like anyone with tile drain right now is running, and we're just in some fields we're a little too wet to get going. But I think within a week we'll be flat out again.
All right. Okay. Well, good luck to you. I hope it all goes well. Get some naps in, maybe lots of coffee, and.
Much appreciated, and will do.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much, Sean. All right. We'll be back with more RealAg Radio right after this.
ABJ Agri-Products is North America's exclusive distributor for air bubble jets and easy jets. These sprayer nozzles reduce the number of driftable droplets and at the same time maintain a uniform droplet size, primarily between 300 and 400 micron, ensuring more even dispersion of your chemical products, providing reduced drift and increased plant coverage. Let us help improve your spraying operation by visiting abjagra.com. That's abjagri.com.
As you head out into the field this season, the Corn School's got you covered. Everything from tillage discussions, weed control info, field trial results, yield strategies, and more. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast from your favorite streaming service. Download the latest episode today.
Want to get the best out of your soybean crops? Whether you've been growing them for a generation or are just starting into soybeans, find what you need to know at soybeanschool.com. You'll see videos on growing tips, pest control, and much more from specialists across the region, all in one place. Easy for you to access from your desktop, tablet, or mobile phone. Maximize your yields by staying up to date with the Soybean School, presented by BASF, Pride Seeds, and Syngenta Canada.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio. I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith, and this segment is brought to you by Envita. The answer to low supply and high prices for nitrogen is Envita, a microbe with systemic nitrogen fixation. Envita works throughout the foliage and roots, providing a right place, right time source of nitrogen to maximize yield in corn, wheat, soybeans, and potatoes. Book your Envita while supplies last. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire. I am so incredibly excited to have Sandi Brock on the show. Sandi, how are you?
I'm much better now that you're on the other end of the phone.
Woo! This is so much fun. So I have to say, it's almost not fair in that the last two Farmer Rapid Fires I've done, Sean tells me I'm not allowed to talk about sheep, and then he lines up Jay Lewis, and now you.
Well, that's really not. That's not even playing fair at all.
It's not even a thing. Let's put it that way.
Sean is not being very nice.
No, he's not. And he's like that sometimes. No. He's testing my patience. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we are here end of April. What is, now I, of course, if anyone follows you at Sheepishly Me, YouTube, wherever you might be, Facebook, they'll know you're in between lambings right now. But catch us up. What's all happening on the farm this week?
Well, thankfully, lambing is long over because it was not a pleasant one. I usually love my spring lambing, but this one was challenging. So happy to have that in the rear view. And yeah, you're right. I'm already prepping for June lambing already. It's a little insane. You basically shake off your last one, good or bad, and you're already prepping for one, if not two. I've got some rams in breeding for my September lambs too. So it's just an ongoing, how it goes.
How it
ongoing
goes.
Yeah.
Now, but maybe not everyone knows, because of course not everyone works accelerated systems. So maybe share a little bit of why it's sort of a constant thing. How many breedings do you plan per year?
Great question, and good for you to catch me on that one. I forget that not everybody knows what I'm doing. I feel like I'm a bit of a open book. I lamb 4 times a year, which is actually not probably even accelerated, like the true accelerated. I call it a bit of a hybrid. So I'm lambing usually in March, in June, September, and December. And the reason why I do it all throughout the year is just to always have a little bit of cash flow all year long. And also for workload, it's just really me and then Carissa, my employee. And, after 100 or 120 ewes lambing, we're kind of done. I can't even imagine doing as many as you and Chris do in one go. I just it's a little,
there's a lot of coffee.
Crazy.
There's a lot of coffee involved.
It's a lot of work. I think everyone just sees the babies and you're like, oh, you have the best job in the world, which we do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason they're cute.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So yeah, workload, I would say workload. It makes for my barn, the efficiency of the barn and just the flow of everything. I'm a very systems oriented person, so it just works really well for me. And also because half my life really in the summer is helping Mark on the land. So the way we do it works really well.
Mm-hmm. I love that you call it systems approach, because this is one of the things where, so we, in contrast, here are annual lambing, as you mentioned. So we lamb we actually started today. Yay. So we started today, and we have sort of two big groups, and then we have probably maybe a few day breather. And then we have our ewe lamb group, which I always laugh and call it blue man group. Anyway, our ewe lamb group. But then we're done, right? But realistically, yes, there's a system to that, but it's so much simpler because we just have to do all the prep once and then it's done. Right. But because you have your 4 groups, I love that you can plan it around, as you said, planting and harvest, which are really, that's the key part of your farm, is that you and Mark do most of it all on your own.
Yes, correct. So it's we really just have to juggle as much as you can. Like September can be tricky. June can be tricky just because we're also, there's some hay in there and corn silage and all those things that kind of are a piggyback with cropping and sheep. It's like the ones that the sheep need, but it still needs us on the land when I need to be in the barn too. So those ones are tricky to juggle for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now we're both in Ontario. I should have mentioned that. I'm doing the same thing, Sandi. You're in Staffa, Ontario. I'm assuming everybody knows Sandi. So in Staffa, Ontario. So I'm assuming it's warmer than where I am, just because we're so far apart. But we did have that beautiful weather, and then we sort of had this return to like early spring weather. So do you have crop in the ground right now, or is Mark doing circles in the shop, or what?
Well, yeah, Mark is not happy. Mm-hmm. He keeps whispering this is just like 2019. I'm like, you shut it. I do not want to hear that.
Do not manifest 2019. Yeah.
Do not manifest 2019 in Ontario. But it has been, we almost cursed that nice week because it was so nice. He got a lot of fertilizer out and he was getting really excited, making sure equipment was working, and then just like literally snow on the day after. It was just like, oh my God. So, so we live far enough apart, but I'm still wearing a toque, proudly, probably till June.
I was going to say, I don't think it comes off till June in most years. So maybe it'll be the toque and like full coveralls and the whole bit.
Oh, the whole thing, all the time. As for crop in the ground, I think we might have talked about this last time. We actually grow a lot of winter crops. So we have quite a bit of winter canola that's up and looking really good. We have some winter barley and we have some winter wheat. So those are our crops in the ground. The rest is like died off cover crop and stuff like that, just waiting for us to come and plant some new life in there. So we're just waiting. It's just a waiting game.
Yeah, exactly. We'll try and be patient and see what sorts out. Okay, so then back to, of course, the most important thing, which are the sheep.
Of course.
Yeah, finished lambing. It was a very hard one. We did follow along. So this is one thing that, of course, like a part of me as I watch, of course, my heart breaks because you are someone who shares it all, the good, the bad, the very bad.
Tears.
Yeah. You know what, Sandi? Stop apologizing to the world of like, I'm sorry you have to see this. It's like, no.
Oh, it can be very humiliating. Not humiliating, like, not embarrassing. I can't find the words for it.
Humbling?
But
is it humbling?
Very vulnerable.
Yes.
Like, because I can't control it when I'm that exhausted. It's just like, oh, here it goes.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Niagara Falls,
Sometimes
everyone.
I edit it out, but most of the time I just leave it in because a lot of people can relate.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
So, but I guess this is my question though, is that because you lamb 4 times a year, like to me, it's like on one hand, it's like you get 4 chances at trying to improve something or fixing what was wrong. So I gotta ask for next round. Are you dreading it, or are you like sort of feeling like, hey, we're gonna game plan this a little different?
So I'm gonna say both, because what I'm figuring out in my almost now 11 years of sheep farming is that you never know everything. Like there's always going to be something you haven't seen, and I cannot believe that. Like I just cannot believe that I'm still seeing things I've never seen before. And it is frustrating and it is challenging. But the good thing about documenting this year after year is I have been able to see improvements even when it's been hard. It's like, well, it's hard, but now I know I'm not waiting until I take some lambs to the vet. I'm taking them now. Like I want to know answers before I'm done lambing, instead of like a month after when I don't care and I'm too tired to look at it.
Yeah.
So then you can use that information to prep for your next one. I screwed up on this last one, and it took me, a couple of ewes going down with pregnancy toxemia, a couple of ewes with prolapses. And I talked to my feed guy, Jamie, and I'm like, what have I done wrong? And he's like, well, when did you start feeding your close-up? I'm like, 2 weeks. And he's like, well, we usually do 4. I'm like, oh my God. And that, like, stupid little things, you get tired. I was dealing with some other, it's been a little bit of a literal dumpster fire around our place just in life. And then that's when the wheels fall off, when you're just not 100% on your game prior to lambing. Like you have to have everything ready. And even then you're sometimes still not ready. So this next lambing, I think I'm still very overwhelmed just because life is still a little crazy, but it's like, I've learned a lot from that. And it's kind of like a golf game. It's like when I do really bad, I can't wait to get back out and like
and show them I'm better than this. I love that. I love that. That is like your competitive streak comes out, right?
I'm fiercely competitive.
Yeah,
but with myself, right? And I guess that's good. But it can be very exhausting. So the one thing that I'm really excited about is I got a couple little ewe lambs that are lambing for their first time. So I'm really excited. Yes. So that always helps when you've got a few little favorites that are due to lamb too, because all my ewes have a little bit of story that goes with them. So so I like that part of it for
when
sure.
When there's the special ones. And yes, anyone who has seen the YouTube knows there was a literal dumpster fire, but we don't have time for that one. But it does bring me to, they also will know that your telehandler died during this last round. So the question of the week this week is, and it's you can choose which one, either what is the next piece of equipment you're going to buy for sure, or what is the next piece of equipment you wish you could buy. So is it a new telehandler, or did you get that sorted?
The telehandler, funny you mentioned that. I literally just pulled it in right now, like before you called. No. I got
new to you?
I got my little baby fixed because the problem with me is I fall in love with things and then I don't want a new one.
Right.
So this girl is going to be with me until she literally decides. She tried to go up in flames. She tried
hard.
My husband stopped it. We got her fixed, and now she's back. So I would love to get another one, but I want the exact same one.
It's like next time buy 2 and just leave one in the shop. There you go.
And I don't even think they make those one anymore.
Probably
so that's why I'm kind of waiting. Other than that, I really don't. I hope nothing. Everything is so friggin' expensive.
Oh my gosh,
it's just insane. So yeah, hopefully I don't break anything else and we can just stay at status quo for a few years. That'd be great.
Okay. No, and I will say, so I love that. That's amazing that you just got your telehandler back. But I want to just state for the record, unlike my darling partner, Chris, who is very hard on equipment, you guys actually take care of this stuff and it still catches fire. So I just want, no fault of your own, these things happen. Okay. All right. That's all the time we have, Sandy.
Oh, darn it.
I know.
You're going to have to call me back then because we have lots to talk about.
Okay, well, after. All right. But first we'll go. We're going to finish the show.
I'll talk to you in a month.
Yeah.
We both have time.
There we go. Okay. All right. Thanks, Sandi, so much. And we'll be back.
Thank you, Lyndsey.
We'll be back with more RealAg Radio right after this.
If farmers know one thing to be true, it's this. There are a lot of factors you can't control. The weather, breakdowns, and a million other variables standing between you and a successful season. But for all the uncertainty, you wouldn't change a thing, because that's farming. And that's why Koch Agronomic Services wants to make life on the farm a bit more predictable. From nutrient management and protection to seed enhancement, get the confidence of being in control. Visit kochagsolutions.com.
Whether you're seeding, harvesting, or anything in between, the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com has you covered. Timely agronomic information from industry experts available online anytime. Give your wheat crop a good start and a great finish with the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com. Brought to you by C&M Seeds, Syngenta Canada, and the Alberta Wheat and Barley Commission.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio. I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith, and this segment is brought to you by MNP, your trusted business partners and leading ag business advisory firm in Canada, proudly serving clients from coast to coast. Take your operations business planning to the next level and visit us today at mnp.ca. All right, joining me now from Lone Rock, Saskatchewan, it's Keith Fournier. Hi, Keith.
Hi, Lyndsey.
Where is Lone Rock, Saskatchewan? I feel like I should know this.
Well, it's a little town of, be under 50 people, just a couple miles off the Alberta border and about 20 minutes south of Lloydminster.
Ah, okay. So there you go. That is an excellent visual, actually. I can totally see where that is. So were you dry then for the past little while, or really forever?
Well, we had some pretty decent crops here last fall, but it was really dry at the end of the growing season and into fall. We usually try and get down some anhydrous in the fall. We did some, and finally we just left it because the ground was so dry. We had a decent snowfall over the winter, and that snow has just the water from that snow is just soaked into the ground, just totally disappeared. We don't even have potholes to go around. So yeah, I think there's some adequate moisture in the soil, but I guess we'll see when we get out there and start putting the seeds in the ground.
Mm-hmm. So much needed moisture then, obviously. Nice that the ground took it. We like it when it stays where it falls, whatever form of moisture it wants to take. But planning this year's crops, what crop mix is going in the ground this year?
It's going to be canola and hard red spring wheat. Usually I throw some peas. In fact, every year I throw some peas in, but it just happens that for the rotation works out that the land that the peas is supposed to go on it's some lower land, and we've had some disease problems with it in the past. And so I've opted to take the peas out of the rotation for that land for this year. And then, it'll probably go back in again next year.
Okay, so when we're talking disease, are we talking Aphanomyces, just anthracnose? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, there's some Aphanomyces, but also just like Fusarium root rots. It's just in the root rot. Some of that lower land that just doesn't have the drainage, the water will sit there, and peas do not like wet feed at all.
No, they really don't. They do not at all. It is very true. And you're right, you don't need something as bad as Aphanomyces. You've got lots of other root rots that can head on in there and make it a sad crop. So
yeah, there's always lots of challenges.
That absolutely. Okay, so now do you figure you're about on time this year so far? Do you feel you're a little behind, little ahead? Where do you think you sit right now?
Yeah, I thought we were going to be behind, but the snow's leaving fast. There still is a bit of snow along the north sides of the trees, but I mean, the ground is dry enough that as that snow melts, it's just going in. And I took a drive around some fields yesterday, and I was able to drive around them. I think as soon as that snow backs off of the edge of those bushes, we'll be able to go. And it wouldn't be the first time I drug a cedar shank through a snowbank at the end, but it would. I'm shooting for Monday on May 1st here to get the wheels rolling. That's pretty typical for when we would normally go.
Yeah. Okay. So not super early by any stretch, but about average then.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. I love that you'll admit that there's been a cedar shank through a snowbank, because I feel like if you farm on the prairies, it's just going to happen one of these years.
Yeah, we try not to do it too much, but usually the first field or two we go out there, I mean, we've got we're far enough north, our season is always pushed, so we try and get that crop into that field as soon as we can.
So what do you figure? How quickly can you get, if let's say the weather holds, how quickly can you get the whole farm seeded?
Yeah, I usually figure we've got 20 days of seeding.
Wow,
so at least
that's
if
a lot.
we could get going by May the 1st, we could have it wrapped up by May the 20th. If we end up with like a week delay of rains then that'll bump us back into that last week of May.
So still not bad. And so are you? Yeah. What usually goes in first then?
So we'll start with so my brother-in-law, who I farm with, he's got some peas going in. And so we'll end up putting his peas in first, and then we'll hit to the harder red spring wheat. Yeah, and the canola will go in last. I mean, we've tried to put it in a little earlier in the past a couple of times, but it just, I don't know, it seems like the first person in the area you put the canola in rings the dinner bell for the flea beetles, and out they come. And so you don't want to be that first person with that canola through the ground.
Flea beetles has been probably throughout this winter one of the top pest problems, I think, that farmers and agronomists have been bringing up quite a bit. So have flea beetles been an increasing problem, or have they've always been bad and they just are, or is it worse?
I don't know. They seem to cycle, and we're in a cycle right now where we have had a problem. 2 years ago, we ended up having to do some spraying, and that's the first time we probably sprayed for 15 years for flea beetles. And then last year, there was a bit of damage, and we got by, but the people who went in and seeded earlier were having some problems. And yeah, I guess this year, who knows what's going to happen? I'll be able to let you know here at the end of May when the first little seedlings pop their heads through the soil and see if the bugs are out there to get them. Yeah,
it certainly does seem to be that whoever's first with canola doesn't necessarily win. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Now.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I've certainly also spoken with other farmers in other areas of the provinces who are, particularly in Manitoba, there are some that actually, because of the crazy wet spring they had last year, they actually put canola in much later, and it seemed to fare a little bit better from the flea beetles. So when does the canola typically go in? Like mid-May, end of May? Is it more to the end?
Yeah, I would say I found that if we start putting it in before about May the 15th, then we start to run into some flea beetle problems. At least in the last couple of years, that's sort of been that day. In fact, even last year, I think we were probably about the 18th by the time we got going in with our canola. And it seemed like anything before that, the neighbors got some in before that, were having to battle some flea beetles. And so we'll probably, I guess we'll assess that when we get to it. But probably the 15th would be the date that we would think about putting our canola in.
All right. Okay, so the question of the week, this is a fun one if you like equipment, is what do you think will be the next piece of equipment you need to buy for the farm? And then part B is if you could buy anything and money was no object, what would you buy? So what do you need and what do you want?
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you what the next piece of equipment will be that we're getting, and it's been on the bucket list for a while, and I have got a skid steer. Hopefully it's supposed to be coming in here this week into the dealership and get PDI'd, and I can get it out here to, just to lift seed bags and to lift chemical totes and that. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to having that. Like I said, it was being on the bucket list. Money was no object. Oh boy. I don't know. You know what? I think I'm set up pretty good. There's always going to be something that will come up on the bucket list, but right now, I'm set up pretty good for equipment, and maybe an X9 combine. Not that I need one right now, but I would put that on the bucket list if money was no object.
I like it. Now, I will say, I don't know anyone who has a skid steer who thinks, "Oh, I wish I had more work to do with it." I swear, once you have one. They're like the Swiss Army knife. Like you can do just about anything with them.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it. In fact, I'm thinking that I need to get a broom because every year I do in the wintertime, I go and put a whole bunch of gravel out into the ditch, and then it comes mowing time. I got to rake it back out of there. So I'm really looking forward to having a broom on the skid steer to be able to kick that stuff back out onto the road.
That is a great idea. That is a super good idea. I love that. See, and this is just it. You can get endless attachments, and you can find endless things to do with a skid steer. So I think that's a great purchase. I'm sure you'll love it.
Yeah, I'm sure I will too.
All right. Okay, well, Keith, thanks so much for making time today. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Lyndsey.
All right, we'll be back with more Real Ag Radio right after this. Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaune Harty, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio. I am your host today, Lyndsey Smith, and this segment is brought to you by the 2023 Beef Improvement Federation Research Symposium and Convention coming this July to Calgary, Alberta. Find out more information at beefimprovement.org/symposium. All right, we end up in Alberta for this Farmer Rapid Fire, and Shaune Harty is on the line. Shaune, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So I'll admit I was stalking your Twitter profile before I called you because I wanted to see what things were like in your area. And it looks to me like maybe you got some snow this winter. So,
yes.
Yeah. So how are things looking this week?
Well, we're definitely melted off. Easter weekend there, we had kind of our big thaw. The water ran big time and stuff, and flooded out some county roads and did some damage there. But yeah, we had a really, really hard winter. Like, we didn't usually down here in the southeast corner, we melt off 2 or 3 times, we'll brown off, and this year it maybe happened once, and it just kept building and snowing and blowing. And we still have some snowbanks on the north slopes of some of the hills in the fields, but better than last year. Last year we weren't too sure if we were even going to get a crop, and now we got some moisture and we got to wait for moisture. So it's it's totally opposite to last year, but I'll take this.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. That was my question: was this an improvement in moisture? But it sounds like so you were very dry last year. You're in that area that was.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, last year we were very unsure of what was gonna happen, and yeah, this year we are probably, going to end up being 10 days later than normal, I would say, or, maybe 2 weeks even. But that's okay too. If it's because of moisture, you don't mind it, like it's, we're doing some field scouting and we've done some soil sampling and stuff, but we just haven't really got into the fields yet down here, in my area. Now, west of me further, like you get to Foremost and west, and even north further by the Island, there's some action going on there. But in this little corner here, we seem to have really had a a little more snow than most people, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you are strictly dryland, or do you have some irrigation as well?
We're just dryland. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, okay, so you said you're out field scouting. So have the weeds been taking advantage of this moisture, or are they still mostly asleep?
They're mostly asleep. We found some activity, and by the look of the forecast, tomorrow looks like a little bit of a cooler, wetter day, and then it's supposed to get quite warm for a while. So it looks like things are going to really start to pop here in the next, 5 days or so. And we're open next week to do some pre-spraying and maybe get going middle to end of next week.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the first crop that'll go in if you can get rolling?
Well, that's kind of also up for debate around our farm, that's for sure. Like, it might end up being lentils. Some of our lentil stubble blew more, so there's more snowbanks, and it stayed wet longer on the north slopes. So we might be able to go into some Durham stubble that didn't blow so bad and maybe melt it off a little more even and get going on there and putting some green lentils in.
Now, would that be, so that isn't necessarily usually the first crop that would go in, it sounds like?
No, usually we would probably put Durham in or barley into last year's lentil stubble or pulse ground, not necessarily lentil, but, because it's usually ready first, and that's usually where we start. But this is kind of, there's some decision-making to happen here before we get rolling, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And so now you said you've got Durham, you've got barley, you've got lentils. What do you grow other pulses besides lentils?
We have in the past. We do grow chickpeas from time to time and yellow peas, but mainly in our area here, like for our farm, it's green lentils for pulses, and we're going to grow some canola as well. So we'll have canola, Durham, barley, and green lentils.
Now, forgive me, but I feel like the canola almost sounds like maybe you don't want to be growing the canola. Is that new? Is it a headache crop? I know some people it's their favorite, and other people it is their least favorite. So, where does canola fit for you?
Yeah. Well, we've grown a lot of green lentils in the last probably 5 years, and it's our rotation is. I'm just scared of getting disease pressure and stuff, so we're trying to get out of some cereals into something other than lentils, and canola is a really good fit for that. I do like canola. It's not that I don't like it. I don't like the price of the seed, but I do like the crop. It's a good rotation, and it allows us to go cereal, canola, and then maybe back to a cereal, and then a pulse. Mm-hmm. So kind of gives us a little bit. We can gain some cover on our ground and spread out our rotation a bit, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Now, are you in an area that has ran into Aphanomyces, or are you lucky enough and dry enough that it hasn't been an issue?
We're just on the edge of it. It hasn't been an issue at our farm yet, but I know west of us and south of us, about 30 miles, there's places with it. So it is a concern in our local area, it hasn't happened to us yet, but I'm trying to keep it from happening, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's where rotational help for sure. So that's always nice. Now,
sure.
Yeah. Now, the question this week is all about equipment, which, some people love to talk about, other people do not. I'm one who does not because I hate the price tag of equipment, but some people love it. Yeah. So the question this week is, so what next piece of equipment are you likely going to buy, either new or new to you? And is that different from what you actually want to buy?
Oh, that's a good question. Next piece of equipment, whether we want to or not. Man, I don't know. We're actually sitting pretty good with equipment right now, and we've priced out a few things, just kind of shopped, but I honestly couldn't tell you what it will be. Maybe like a utility tractor kind of a thing is all we're probably, that kind of a thing. But other than that, the big stuff, we just bought another drill this last winter, and I don't think there'll be too many big ones, that's for sure.
Well, that's kind of nice. Now, if you, had extra money laying around, which don't we all? What would you spend it on if you really wanted to?
Oh, I'd buy 2 X9s for sure.
Good for you. Go big or go home. Not just one, everyone.
That's right.
2 X9s. Good for you.
That's right. Yeah.
I like that. Now the drill. What kind of drill did you go with?
We have 2 Bourgault 3320s.
Mm-hmm.
We only had 1 Bourgault before, and now and a John Deere, and now we got 2 Bourgauts. So, yeah, it's nice to have the same parts and same drills, and yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, consistency for sure. And if you know how to wrench on them, then away you go. Now, have you had trouble finding parts or wear parts or anything like that, or have you been well stocked?
We haven't. Yeah, we've been well stocked. We've had to wait a little bit here getting equipment ready, but it hasn't been terrible. So just patience. This usually the longest was probably 5 days we've had to wait for something, but
that's
nothing
not bad.
major yet. So
that is very livable. It's the months and months
for sure.
when you need it that it's the problem.
Yeah. I've heard about those stories for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, glad you didn't have to deal with that. But it does, of course, it does mean when you think you're going to need something, maybe call ahead because you never know.
That's right.
Yeah. You might have to use some baler twine hacks in the meantime. But yes. All right. Well, I really do hope that things go well in the next week or two and warm up for you. I think just about everyone today on this rapid fire is looking forward to some warmer temps and getting rolling. So have a very safe seeding season, and I hope it works out for you in the next week or two.
Thank you, Lyndsey. It was nice talking to you.
All righty. Okay, take care.
Okay, bye.
And with that about does it for today's Farmer Rapid Fire. Few things I wanted to touch on before I let you go. I am set to speak with our Federal Minister of Agriculture, Marie-Claude Bibeau, later today. If I can make that all happen, because of course, things change, but we're going to try. That should be on Friday's radio show, so tomorrow's radio show. So come on back at 4:30 Eastern here on Rural Radio, channel 147. If we have a change of plans and it's not on the radio show, it will, of course, be on RealAgriculture.com just as soon as possible. I'm going to ask her several questions, one of which, of course, is the impact that the federal strike is having or has had on the research that happens at all the research farms across Canada. So AAFC has research stations in every province, and as far as I understand it, technicians are on strike. So we've got certainly research trials that would be going in the ground now or shortly, and if that's not happening, what impact might that have? It would be an absolute shame to lose that many site years, all because of a 7 to 10 day strike, which I think we're in day 9, something like that. Anyway, so I'll also be talking about, she is returning from a tour of Singapore, Japan, the Indo-Pacific region. So let's see what we've learned on the trade side. There might be some exciting news there. So check that out for sure. The other thing I wanted to mention, and we will probably talk about this on the issues panel tomorrow, but if you are at all interested in the seed industry, and frankly, if you buy seed, that means you are a part of the seed industry. CFIA has its pre-consultation open on the seed regulatory modernization that is going on with CFIA. So the consultation ends May 1st. That's Monday. So again, we'll probably talk about it tomorrow, but just in case we don't, I want to make sure that everybody knows that you can have your say. So any member of Canada, no matter which part of the industry you're in, if you have an opinion, which I should hope you do, you should head on over to the CFIA website. So just keep that in mind. Really important to have your say when these consultations happen. Okay. So check that out, please. And thank you. Okay. Huge thank you to each of my farmers this week, to Sandi, to Shaune, to John-Wiebe Dykstra, and of course to Keith Fournier. Thank you each for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. I really do appreciate it. And it is so much fun to hear what's happening. And I really loved all of their questions, all of their answers to the question of the week, of course. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. If you've got any feedback, call that RealAg feedback line 1-855-776-6147. You can find us at Real Agriculture on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. We're there. We have a YouTube channel. Go check it out. Lots of videos. And I will be back tomorrow, but not as the host. No, I just get to be a guest tomorrow. So come on back, 4:30 Eastern on Rural Radio Channel 147. Shaune Harty will be back in the driver's seat. Calvin and I will be on a panel. There will, of course, be a beef market update with Ann Wasco. So, yes, come on back. We'd love to have you back. And let us know how we're doing on the show, who'd you like to hear from, what you'd like more of. I know yesterday's show, when we talked energy, as well as the StatsCan survey and the grains market, got some great feedback on that one. So let me know if it's something you want to hear more of. All right? Enjoy this Thursday. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you for downloading this episode of RealAg Radio, brought to you by high-performing new carbine insecticide from FMC. New carbine insecticide hits aphids hard with effective, selective, and extended control. It also has activity on ligus and tarnished plant bugs. Ask your retailer today.